That, I mean, maybe Jim was wrong, maybe Jim was right, but to whine and try and get your competitor disqualified, cancel culture style, deplatforming style, that shows actually really bad judgment and bad character in my mind. And what a great pleasure to have that slapped down by a court. But I just heard, like 5 minutes ago, that Jim Karahalios, who was a candidate for the Conservative Party leadership, who was thrown out of the leadership, had all his funds seized, or parts of his funds seized, was thrown out by unelected, unaccountable, appointed, secret bureaucrats in the party because he wrote some mean comments about his opponent's campaign chairman. I mean, welcome to politics. They threw him out, he took them to court, and he won. And I predicted this, I knew he would, because he had a very similar quarrel with the provincial PC party in Ontario, and he beat them too. And it's some of the exact same people who were involved. In the particular case, Waleed Solomon, a senior lawyer at a large firm called Norton Rose, Waleed Solomon was the best buddy of Patrick Brown, the former leader of the Ontario PCs, sued Jim Karahalios and lost. That same Waleed Solomon is chairman of Aaron O'Toole's campaign. Jim poked fun at him. He surely was behind this complaint, and he lost too. It's almost like courts want politics to be decided politically, democratically, not through some lawsuit. I'm thrilled that Jim Karahalios won. I think that he may or may not be the best person to lead the party, but whether or not he is up to the party members, not to some lawsuit. So this is hot off the press. As you can see in the top right, it says May 2010. Now, for folks who don't care about this, I'm going to take about 10 minutes on this, and then I'm going to get to the other stuff. But look at that. Dimitrios Karahalios, that's the legal name of Jim, versus the Conservative Party of Canada, who had 3 lawyers. Reasons for the decisions. J. Perel is the name of the judge. It starts with a little quote from the Bible. But if you will not drive out the inhabitants of the land from before you, then it shall come to pass that those which ye let remain of them shall be pricks in your eyes and thorns in your sides, and shall vex you in the land when ye dwell. That is a very unusual way to start a ruling, but maybe they're suggesting that Jim Karahalios is a prickly thorn. And you know what? They're not wrong. How many pages is this thing? A lot. Let me just read the opening part and then we'll whip through it. I'm not going to read this whole thing. The plaintiff, Dimitrios Jim Karahalios, was a candidate for the leadership of the Conservative Party. On March 18th, the Conservative Party disqualified Mr. Karahalios because of a complaint from Aaron O'Toole. Keep going. I'm paraphrasing here. Mr. Karahalios, who strenuously denies being a racist, believes he was a thorn in the side of the Conservative Party. The Conservative Party's establishment unlawfully took the opportunity of Mr. O'Toole's complaint to throw him out. Mr. Karahalios brings a summary judgment for mandatory orders restoring his candidacy. Part 6, he seeks the following relief: a declaration that his disqualification was invalid, that he's a valid candidate, that he get his money back. Point 7, as I shall explain below, says the judge, in my opinion, there was no procedural unfairness and there was no bad faith. There was nothing untoward or unlawful about the CRO's ruling, which was to impose a penalty but not to disqualify Mr. Karahalios. However, under the leadership rules, the DRAC did not have the authority to disqualify Mr. Karahalios. The authority to disqualify is reserved to the 18 members of the leadership something committee, which has never formally or properly considered the matter. It follows that the appropriate decision is to set aside the decision and restore the CRO's ruling. So thus, for the reasons that follow, I grant Mr. Karahalios summary judgment. I declare that the decision to disqualify him is invalid. I declare that if Mr. Karahalios complies with the ruling, dated March 17th, within 14 days, he is a verified leadership candidate. So it sounds like they're fining him a certain amount. I order that within 20 days, the Conservative Party pay what are known as directed contributions to Jim. I order that this is without prejudice to further decisions. All right. Well, that's all I need to know. Thanks very much. So I don't want to get lost in the weeds, but as I mentioned just a moment ago, Jim Karahalios wrote a critical email about Aaron O'Toole, and in particular Aaron O'Toole's campaign chairman, Walid Solomon. O'Toole complained like a whiny school brat running to the school marm. He called me a name. Toughen up, buddy. If you want to be the prime minister, you're going to have to be a little bit tougher than that. If someone says something critical of you, you can't run to mummy and complain every time. How pitiful is that? I mean, maybe Jim was wrong, maybe Jim was right, but to whine and try and get your competitor disqualified, cancel culture style, deplatforming style, that shows actually really bad judgment and bad character in my mind. And what a great pleasure to have that slapped down by a court. I could see it coming, and I did in fact predict it, because Jim Karahalios, this isn't his first rodeo. I just love the fact that the judge starts off by talking about a thorn in their side. You know, in a democracy, it's not illegal to be a thorn in someone's side. That's an excerpt from a daily live stream show that I do every day at 12 noon Eastern Time. I talk about the stories of the day, play some fun videos, and most importantly, I take your questions and comments in what YouTube calls a super chat. If you like that, please tune in live. It's way more fun that way. You can join the conversation. And every day at 8 p.m., I have a special produced show with a whole monologue, and I interview guests, and I read my fan mail and my hate mail. You can learn more about both my daily live show and the nightly premium show at rebelnews.com.